Hello everyone, I am getting ready to make making the video for a machine I literally just finished restoration work on. You'll see a listing on Craigslist, and I'll have photos and a long list of all the things that were done in the restoration for the machine. This machine is a great example of a machine that you might sometimes see in a store, and it's been sitting there for a while. This one was in a store, and it was dirty. It was covered in old grease and dust, and I think it was needing some parts replaced on it, and the light didn't work. And so I looked at it, and it looked like it had been sitting there a while, and people were passing it by, and I just took pity on it and got a hold of the machine. I'm so glad I did, because this machine was not broken. It was just needing service like most of them do. But this is the Singer 401A. If you were looking for a brand new sewing machine in the late 50s, this was the best machine Singer could make. It was their most expensive model, and it had a lot of interesting features that came with it. Prior Singers were known as wonderful straight stitchers. Some of them are legendary in their straight stitching. But this machine was the top of the line. When you went into a Singer store in say, 1957, you could purchase a 404, which was this machine, but straight stitch only. And you could also purchase a 403. And this machine, basically the 403 and the 401 are known because they can do decorative stitches. And they can do up to 21 stitches or stitch types. And of course you have straight, zigzag, and about 19 decorative stitches, which was just amazing at the time. And if you paid the highest price for the fanciest model, which was this one, 15 of those decorative stitches are actually built in, and there are little stitch selector knobs here that you'll see me use in a moment. And basically, to have the stitches built in was it was a matter of convenience. Okay, so the 403 model doesn't have them built in, but it doesn't really matter. Most of these decorative stitches were never used, but they were also called embroidery stitches, so you could do sort of automatic embroidery, which was a huge deal. But this machine was technologically the most advanced Singer you could purchase. Very, very expensive. Most of them were purchased on credit, and people made payments on them. And but anyway, for those of you who may have been looking at computerized machines, the new ones, you may have been under the impression that you could not do decorative stitches with a all mechanical machine, but you can, and they really make beautiful stitch patterns. I'm going to do some demonstrating for you today and show you that the machine, how she stitches, how she sounds. The 401A, if you're new to it, uses drop-in style bobbins. So they're called Class 66 bobbins. And all of your controls are basically here on the front. Of course, you have your upper tension. You have stitch length right here, and of course, reverse. You can raise the needle plate if you want to do free motion work. And of course, there's a bobbin winder on the front. You can control the width of the stitch here. And of course, these two buttons, like I said, I can show you, and the manual will also show you, creates all these wonderful combinations of decorative stitches. But anyway, I mentioned to you that the light didn't work, and actually the light switch had been broken, so I simply replaced it. And now she works beautifully. I'm in the sunroom. I'm not going to use it today. But again, these are things that these machines were built with such great quality. It's a shame that people, don't always want to take the time to really give the machines a full servicing, because now this machine is ready to sew. And again, it's all steel. But I'm going to demonstrate for you right now. You're going to see it's actually sewing. I'm sewing on some upholstery fabric here. Sometimes I start with light fabrics, but I wanted to go straight to upholstery. And I'm just doing some straight stitching for you right now. Of course, there's back tacking, which is easily done. Then I'm going to come back over, and I'm going to give myself a new row here, and I'm going to shorten the stitch because this machine has a rotary hook. And for those of you who are sewing dresses or gowns, or maybe you do quilting, rotary hooks are really, really nice because they create a certain quality of stitch that I think is pretty amazing. And I'm going to make it extra fine here. One of the things you might notice is that earlier machines from, say, earlier decades would sew fairly fast, faster than I can sew. But as you move through time, by the time you get to the 1950s, you'll see this one's sewing has pretty high RPMs. And so the RPMs on machines were getting higher as we go through time. I'm going to pull this sample up in a little bit, and you'll be able to actually see the quality of the stitches. Let's see, we'll make some more room over here, and I'll show you its Zig-Zag Stitch, which was, again, this was Singer's best zigzagger from the vintage period. And when I flip this lid up, you're going to see there's a whole listing of all of these decorative stitches, including the zigzag, and it gives you the settings. So it's very easy. You look at it. For example, I want zigzag. I want to do B and L. So I'm going to come over here. I've got B right now. And I'm going to do L on this knob. And I'm going to come all the way over to here because I want my zigzag to be wide. And I'm going to start out with a long stitch. And again, in the vintage period, this was sometimes called overcast stitching. And again, it was considered very high tech at the time to be able to do this in a home sewing machine. And you would later see a lot of machines built in Japan later on. This one was built in America, but the later machines in Japan all would copy the zigzag capability. Now I'm going to shorten that stitch so that you can see it create a finer version of that. And maybe even finer again. This machine is part of Singer's Slant-O-Matic series. And again, you see it zigzagging really quickly here. Pretty high RPMs. I could go even faster. And of course, backpacking as well. Now what I have on here right now is I actually have a roller foot. But this machine comes with a regular zigzag foot. It comes with a straight stitch foot. And it actually comes with another foot called a satin stitch foot. But anyway, if you look closely, you will see this is the back side. Now you'll see the blue thread. That's my bobbin thread there. And you can see, I want you to see that thread. And then this is the white, which is my top stitch thread. And if you look at particularly with the straight stitches, look at the long and then the short, and they're just beautiful, right? The quality of the stitch is gorgeous. So what I wanted to use this to sort of